Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It's a pleasure for me to be talking to you today. I am sorry I am not able to be with you in person, but I am with you in my thoughts and my feelings and in spirit. Inshallah, we shall have other opportunities to meet together, interact, discuss, and learn from one another. The purpose of this program is to exchange views with you as young people, future intellectuals and researchers on issues that concern our community. There are two basic problems that we need to tackle, to think about, to research on. The first is the issue of reform of thought. How do people think? Why do they think in particular ways? How do they think in a correct way? And how come that sometimes they get wrong thoughts, thoughts that lead them to extremism, lead them to many other problems. So we need to tackle the issue of thought very seriously by study, by research, by discussion, so that we can end up reforming the thought process that exists among all people in our community. The second issue is the issue of knowledge and education. What is knowledge? What are the sources of knowledge? What is the philosophy of knowledge? How can knowledge be reformed so that it is a useful and positive component of education? As you know, education is the most important element in socialization and building a community and a society. If the education system is good, the society is good. If the education system is not good, the society will have a lot of problems. So these two issues are our main concern: reform of thought and reform of knowledge, which extends into reform of education. We look upon you as future leaders of research into these two areas. We need, therefore, to make sure that you are well grounded in the basics that will enable you to be effective researchers who will go to the root of problems and who will be able to propose positive solutions. There are 6 areas of concern and 6 areas that we are concerned about, and 6 areas that this training program is covering. So I want to go through these 6 areas, and I think our program is well structured to make sure that there is a resource person for each one of those areas, and that you have got an opportunity to discuss intellectual issues that arise in that special area. The first 2 areas I have already talked about. They are the area of thought, al-fikr, and the area of knowledge, al-ma'rifah. Fikr means either the content of the thinking, of the thought, or the process of the thinking. The source of all our thoughts is the Quran. We shouldn't actually have any thought problems, but the issue arises from the way we understand and interpret the teachings of the Quran. So we need to make sure that we align our thinking and our thoughts and our thought processes with the correct interpretations in order to stay on the right path. We also need to make sure that we clarify the misunderstandings of the thought that exist among the youths, among the elderly, and among various strata of the society. This process of clarification, cleansing, and correcting is very, very important for our future. The second area of concern is the area of knowledge. As I mentioned, we need to have our distinct epistemology, our distinct philosophy of knowledge, in order to be able to build an education system that reflects the values that are compatible with the vision of the community that we have in mind. Now, the values that I'm talking about are universal values. These are values that we share with other communities, religious communities, philosophical communities, because it is the same humanity. They are the same common human values that we need to put in the education system so that the future citizens who graduate from the education systems are positive, are useful, and can make good contributions to the development of the community. The third area of concern is the Quran. We need to understand the Quran as an eternal message that is relevant to every place and every time. It's always relevant, it's always applicable. The problem arises when we fail to understand how these applications differ with the time and with the place. This time, space, or temporal, spatial variation is the crucial thing that we need to understand, that we need to put right, that we need to study. And this will require a lot of research, a lot of thinking, a lot of debate, so that we can come out with the correct understanding in order to make sure that the Quran remains an eternal guide for the work of individuals, families, and communities. The third area of concern is the Sunnah. As you know, the Sunnah refers to the words of the Prophet, or his actions, or things that were performed in his presence and he did not object to them. Sunnah is very wide. We may use the word hadith. There is a technical difference between the two, but I do not want to go into this. Sunnah is very wide. It's in many books, many narrations, many sources. We also need to understand the Sunnah, like the Quran, in the correct time and space dimensions, so that we can apply the eternal teachings of the Sunnah in each time and space environment, or even microenvironment, in the correct way. Misapplications have led to a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of problems and a lot of deviations. So this is an area that we need to think about very seriously, to study very well, and we need a lot of research. Some of it can be theoretical, and some of it can be actual empirical research in the communities to understand how do people understand the Sunnah. How do they apply it? How do they appreciate the implications of the teachings of the Sunnah? The fifth area of concern is the area of our own Islamic intellectual heritage. We have now more than 14 centuries of intellectual and cultural history. And a lot of things have happened. A lot of changes have occurred. We have gone through a lot of experiences. Some of them have been positive. Some have not been so positive. We need to be able to look at our heritage and sort it out to see what went right, what went wrong. Because sometimes when we take the whole heritage, the whole of our history, without sifting through, we may repeat mistakes that happened in the past. So our heritage, our history needs research, needs study. The sixth area is the human heritage. The human race has also got an intellectual and a cultural heritage, a cultural and intellectual history over thousands of years. The human race lives in many continents, in many societies, in many environments. So we need also to study this human heritage, to sort out what has been positive, what has been negative, so that we can get good guidance about our future. After mentioning the 6 areas of interest and concern, I would like to talk about the challenge that is in front of us as young people, as young intellectuals. The challenge is that of research. Knowledge grows by research. Understanding grows by research. I beg you, when you go back to your homes, your colleges, your universities, and your various institutions, to start doing research. Research means you develop an idea, a hypothesis, and then you test it out. You can test it by looking at records, looking at experiences. You can also test it out by actual collection of data for more understanding. The data requires interpretation. Now, this interpretation should be guided by subjectivity, al-istiqama. As the Quran tells us, we need always to make objective research and objective analysis. We need to discuss our research findings with others. We need to publish and disseminate these findings, because as we disseminate them, we generate even more discussion. We generate more knowledge. We generate more extension of the ideas that we are doing. It's my hope that by the end of this program, you will have had exposure to a basic curriculum in understanding Islam and its sources and its philosophy and its knowledge and its thought. And I think this core curriculum will give you the necessary background to embark on the path of research. We've got research grants, so when you get ideas on research that you want to carry out, we are willing to help you. The help could be financial. Also, the help could be intellectual. We can help you develop your research. We can help you expand your research ideas until, inshallah, at the end, you can finish and complete. It's not enough to do research during your student days. You need to pick up research as a lifelong mission. So after your graduation, you need to continue researching, writing, publishing. We need to be on the frontiers of knowledge, because this is the way that we can reform and help our society grow. Ideas are necessary for tajdeed, for renewal. And the ideas come from scholarly research, scholarly discussions, and scholarly exchanges. Thank you very much for listening to me. I hope we shall meet at some future time for further discussions. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.